that is the entire continent. David, you lead UBA, which is what we call the Africa, perhaps Africa's global bank, we'll say. You have a network of about 20 African countries, African market that you serve. And I believe you see the challenge from more like 30,000 feet up, but also from the ground. Now, first of all, I would like for you to start by introducing yourself, and then from where you sit. What is the secret sauce to building payment systems that is enough for a trader in Kariakoo to close a deal in Lagos, yet safe enough for a global bank like yours to push its entire reputation behind it? So I'm told we are having an issue with the microphone, so I'll pass this one around. I'll give you at least 5 minutes to introduce yourself and to respond to the question as they're sorting out the mics, and then we'll move along that way. Yeah? All right. So I'll start with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think to start off, I'd like to say, of course, thank you to the Fintech Association of Tanzania for extending this invitation to us as UBA group. And to top it off, like you rightly put it, UBA has presentation in over 20 countries. That alone presents a challenge that is very deep in terms of how do we interconnect the 20 countries that we are operating in, right? Just 2 weeks ago, I was in Nigeria. One of the challenges I faced was, of course, I needed to make purchases of, I don't know what you call it here, but in Zambia we call them chitenge materials. These are like traditional fabric. I needed to buy something for my wife. Performing that transaction alone, for me, who is interacting with a trader who, one, does not have a POS that is able to accept an international card, say Visa or MasterCard. That transaction by itself presents a challenge to me because I have the funds, she doesn't have the necessary infrastructure to accept and perform that transaction. It was a bit of a challenge. I ended up having to transfer funds to a colleague who's working in Nigeria, who is Zambian. I transferred to his Zambian account. He had to make a transaction using OPay or MoneyPoint. That brings you down to the challenge that you just rightly put in terms of how does a trader who's trading in karaoke here interact with another trader in Lagos. That challenge is not just being faced in Tanzania. It's an African challenge that we need to, through such interactions, try and see how we're able to interconnect these traders across Africa. Having said that, I'd like to mention that for that to be achieved, one of the things that I've observed in my 24 hours in Tanzania is that I think there has been very deliberate efforts around trying to make transactions possible across the various interfaces and platforms. One of the things I'd like to, of course, commend Tanzania for is what you're doing as far as TIPS is concerned, right? One of the biggest challenges that Africa is facing today is that we do not have unified or rather standardized KYC, right? So KYC is the beginning and the foundation of everything that you're going to do as far as transactions are concerned. I need to identify who I'm transacting with. I need to identify and, of course, see that this particular person is credible, right? So in any transaction, you need credibility. You need the right language for systems to interact. So what Africa needs today is coming up with what I call 5 layers, right? You need to, 1, let us have the access, or rather the language layer, right? how is our infrastructure interacting with the next infrastructure as far as standardization of, say, ISO messages, right? Standardization of KYC requirements being collected. Also, you look at possibly having access by API. Our APIs doing what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, and how they're supposed to do it. And then we also need to look at the defense side of things. When we look at transactions, cross-border transactions, they bring about security concerns and risks. How then is our defense mechanisms as far as cybersecurity is concerned? Are we putting up structures and infrastructure to make sure that these transactions are ring-fenced? They're ring-fenced with the right security protocols. And then also, we need to look at the governance side of things. Is our respective central banks having this particular conversation that we're having today? I'm glad that the Fintech Association of Tanzania has come up with very, very deliberate topics that will not only change Tanzania, but will also change Africa as a whole. If governments are able to come to the table, central banks, the 54 central banks that we have across Africa, they're able to come to the table and say, how do we make transactions possible across our countries? One of the things that we need to look at is, let's look at infrastructure. You rightly put it to say, we have got so many apps. What Africa needs today is not apps. What Africa needs is infrastructure that actually works. Thank you.
So Simon leads M-Pesa, which is also one of the financial heartbeats of this country, and you process tens of millions transactions. And now I hear you are opening up your APIs, which essentially invites the entire ecosystem to build in your land, so to speak. So please, if you can introduce yourself in 1 minute and then help us understand this OpenAI paradox. How do you balance being a generous, open partner for startups and innovators while ensuring that your M-Pesa rail remains the most secure, trusted platform in the country? Over to you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Simon Sanga. I'm from M-Pesa. In M-Pesa, I lead the strategy, purely looking at customer value management. Is how do we make sure that we bring enough value to our customer in such a way that we maintain growth and still maintain competitive within the market. And given the question of how we build this connected system, network of within the fintech ecosystem, one of the things that's really important is APIs. Yes, we are really keen on how we are growing our fintech, but also make sure that we include and involve everybody else. Now, in terms of M-Pesa, or in terms of overall how we approach the being open and inviting, let's say, other people building within our platform, is we are ensuring that, first of all, we're ensuring that the core aspect of the platform is still maintained, that we are maintaining our service and grow our customer in such a way that the only thing that a partner or an institution that want to work with us will be interested in is bring their value to our ecosystem. And this means that all the KYC related, all the security related tasks are taken care by M-Pesa themselves, and leave the only task of make sure that you're bringing the value to the customer. So we are leveraging the fact that we can grow, capitalizing on our customer, and take care of the security, take care of the KYC, and leave you as an external partner to work on the bringing the value. And another aspect of looking at this is we as M-Pesa or as a platform, we are not the first one to build and share APIs to other external partners. We've seen what is happening with other companies. For example, we saw Facebook early in 2010s. that were actually opening their APIs to developers. We had other companies like, we saw Instagram growing actually from the APIs. So we are mindful of how other companies approach the opening up of the API, allow their customer to remain safe, but also allow the other partners, developers, to really build and grow their business and bring their value. So how do we do it within M-Pesa? Within M-Pesa, you can see that right now we are one of the leading companies in terms of having the best super app. We have several mini apps. And by having those mini apps, what we are actually doing is allowing other company individuals to build on what we already done. The core part of KYC, the core part of how to make sure that the platform is working smoothly, we're already taking care of it. What we need from you as an external partner is come and bring your value. Now, we are still mindful on how also we are sharing the platform, make sure that there is a robust tier process that you're not just going to plug and play, but also you're going to go through the vetting process that will give us confidence that whatever you're bringing on the table is actually valuable to our company and also to our customers. We are also mindful of how we are still maintain competition within the platform that we open. And I can give you an example, because this is one of the global case. We saw, for example, we saw Instagram actually growing up from Facebook, yeah? If it wasn't Facebook, maybe Instagram couldn't exist, yeah? But by Facebook being able to open up and actually allow Facebook to leverage their KYC and their customer base, Instagram grew rapidly, and eventually they become one of the partner for the Facebook, because they understand, okay, now this value of sharing pictures is really, really important for our customers, and then we can even acquire this company to be part of the company. So we are mindful, and also we're monitoring how we can support and also grow the value for our customer, but also support the developer to realize their value to the customer. But in other scenarios, we see companies that are becoming competitive. Let's say the case of Zynga, for example. I'm giving the global context so that you can understand we are really mindful of how we are operating, because we have already seen these things happen. Zynga was a company which was a gaming platform operating within the ecosystem of AI from Facebook. And eventually, they become very competitive. But what was happening behind the scenes is that eventually they start poaching some of the customers, poaching like ring face the customer to not go back to Facebook, but spend much of the time within the Zynga. This actually resulted in Facebook start losing the ad revenue that we're initially getting from these customers. So we are mindful of, okay, how do we maintain that even if you are going to bring your value, how we make sure that you're still operating in a way that we still also realize our value, because there is a core cost that we are incurring this. There is a core security that we are taking care of this. So all those aspects are really very mindful. And in terms of security is really important. We are also ensuring that wherever or whenever company come to on board with us, there is a proper vetting process. There is a set of procedure that we are also sharing with you, that these are the things that we are looking for from you, given the security. How are we handling the security? And all this, because we're also part of the regulator. We are regulated by BOT and TCRI. All these companies are regulating us. So we are really mindful of how security is also going to be impacted given the sharing of these APIs. But overall, one thing which is really something which I can share with that is we are very open sharing this API, and our platform is very open to welcome anybody to be on top of that. The only thing is make sure that there is a really value that you're bringing to the customer, because that is the only thing that will determine the success of our platform. We don't want to build a platform where everybody is existing, but there's no enough or significant value that our customer realizing.